Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of Slate-A-Minute. My name is Tristan Deveney and I'm a Senior Solutions Engineer with FGI. Today we're talking group bys in subqueries. All right, so for our first example, we want to take a look at reader review form submissions grouped by user. So maybe on the application space, if I were to look at a concatenated list, I could pull in something like the form submitter name and title for reader review forms and get something that looks like this, where I'm pulling in the name of the person who filled out the form and then the form name. If I have two of these, a concatenation like that is just going to show each combination for each form response that exists. But a group by would let you combine these so that you could have just one row for Technolutions support reader review, and then you could add things like a count beside them to show that I have two of these. So if I wanted to do that, I could save a copy of my concatenation subquery here and rename this so that it's a group by. And all I'm really doing in this case is taking the same exports that I have in a concatenation and adding them under this group by section. So if I'm doing submitter, I can pull in name, and then I'm also using title for the form. And maybe I also want to include a count here, so I could do something like the GUID and get a count of the GUIDs by changing the aggregate on this particular export and setting that to count. And maybe I also want to make this look pretty and just add some parentheses in here, so it's a little easier to tell what this count is. All right. So if I've done that and save, that I have, again, my two and then the count in this second version. And again, you can see for each combination that you have here, you get the unique values once and then the count for how many times those occur. For a slightly more complicated example, the way that Slate handles entities does mean that you have to approach this differently. So if you're trying to group by an entity, if you were to do the same thing, maybe I have a scholarships entity and I have different statuses. So someone might have, 4 approved scholarships, a pending and a declined. If I were to do the same thing, save a copy of this and try to replicate that behavior where I'm grouping by the scholarship status, I'm going to get an error when I try to pull this in because Slate's telling me that the entity ID is invalid in the select list because it's not contained in either an aggregate function or the group by clause. And so this has to do with how Slate generates the SQL currently for entities, but you can get around this. So rather than grouping by the export that's generated by this join to scholarships, we have to go out 2 steps and grab the value from field value and then from lookup.prompt. So if I go from my scholarship here, I have a entity scoped field with an ID of scholarship status. So again, this can just be whatever your custom field is that you want to group by. So we're going out to that unique value for the scholarship status, and then from there we're going one step further out to lookup.prompt. And what we're actually going to group by in this case is that lookup.prompt value. So let's add that in as our export, add that in as our group by. And I'm also going to do the same thing where I have the GUID of the prompt for my count. So again, we can just do counts here. And again, let's add our parens just to make it look nice. Now, if I save this and preview, I'm going to see just what I want, which is that the approved only shows once. It gets the count of 4, declined is 1, and pending is 1. And that's group bys in subqueries. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Slate-A-Minute. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow along on LinkedIn, and join our space in the Slate community if you have any follow-up questions. And if you or your team have any upcoming project needs, feel free to visit us online at fgiconsultants.com and drop us a line. Thanks for watching.